It's time for friends on Sports 56. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshyn. Look up on the wall. There on the wall. Under the bottle.
I was just a regular, good old-fashioned Father's Day, just a regular Sunday. Oh, watching the U.S. Open, glued to that to see who would survive. And then, all of a sudden, the news broke. Desmond Bain, gone. I would say the consensus on the Grizzlies deal with the Orlando Magic was this really was sort of win-win for both teams. The Magic were, I believe, the worst three-point shooting team in the NBA last year, and in fact, you got to go back a decade to find a worse shooting three-point team. So they get a reliable guy in Bain, and I want to point this out because I've been all over the place listening. The thing about Desmond Bain for me, reliable, didn't get injured nearly as often as other stars, was that he was a leader. I'm not saying most of the time the star has to be the guy, so it's really Ja or Jaren that have to be the guys that are the leaders, but he was a part of that core three, the big three, whatever you want to term it. And I always felt like he said the right thing. His mind was in the right place. The effort was always there. I think he's a good guy. I think for that reason, fans will miss Desmond Bain. But Desmond Bain, to no fault of his, got a contract that was, in some regards, overpaying. And look, the marketplace speaks for itself, so I'm happy that Desmond Bain is set up for life. I think in his last year of that contract, I believe it's 28-29, he's going to get $45 million. Good for Desmond, and I hope he knocks it dead with Orlando. But the one thing about Desmond Bain that he really proved over and over this last year is that he's a one-position guy. One-position shooters are fairly plentiful in the NBA. And when you are a team that has two other stars, and you're going to have to pay this guy $45 million at the end of that contract, I believe I heard the way this thing is going with the contract negotiations with Jaren Jackson Jr., that clearly want him. If you had kept Bain, in the last couple of years of your deal, you'd have three guys totaling $130 million of your cap. That is not sustainable. That is not a way that you can build a team. And they want Jaren Jackson Jr., and to pay him, they had to find room. This was a trade about flexibility because clearly Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, KCP, is a good player. He's been a starter on two national championship teams. He was a starter for the Lakers when they won in the bubble. He was a starter for Denver when they won their title with Joker. So the guy knows how to play. He's an elite defensive player. He had bad numbers this year in terms of offense with Orlando. So on paper, even with the other acquisition in all of this, Anthony Cole, they're not a better team on the court at this point. But they are, in terms of possibilities, a potentially better team. To me, Zach Kleiman here is playing chess. This move was the first move of what could be several moves. I don't believe that Ja or that Jaren Jackson are involved in that particular scenario, but I think Anthony Cole could. You've got Scottie Pippen as the backup point guard. Now, you could move Pippen to the backup, too. Let Cole be your backup point guard to Ja. You'd have a lot of depth that way. You could do that. But isn't there another move that's out there that would bring an established older player into the fold. Maybe it's a backup center for Zach Edey when he comes back, or a guy that could be your center, and Zach becomes your backup. It has to earn his way back to becoming a full-time guy when his health gets better. But there's another move that is out there, and with the $13 million contract that Anthony Cole gives you, and 16 this year, or all those unprotected picks in the future they got with this deal, and most experts, and I don't find myself that when it comes to capology and the future of NBA picks, but there are several guys that make their living this way. Almost every one of those guys has said this was a good deal for the Grizzlies. They get out of this restrictive mode that they were in because of the $45 million last year, the contract of Desmond Bane. It was restrictive for all these other moves that now can possibly be made. This is the first of at least one more, I think. Maybe even more than that. This is not a redo, a rebuild. This is a different path that is being taken. And I'm not sure the Grizzlies, within one more move or even the 16th draft pick, although Liam McNeely and Nick Clifford do not ring my bell as major guys. And that's what you're getting in this draft for the 16th pick. But I think the flexibility is there. And honestly, Bane is just too one-dimensional. And he's not a great defensive player. KCP is. So we'll see. They're on paper not better, but certainly the possibility of them being better is. And in listening, and I heard callers here and other places, all seem to be on board with this move. I, again, will reiterate. It's a chess move. It's the beginning. I like it. And I think it's a win-win. I know you had your say earlier, but I'd like for you to reiterate, Elijah Siegers, what you think of this move, because clearly this is the story in Memphis today.
Yeah, I thought it was a good trade for the Grizzlies in terms of setting up a potential deal down the line, whether that be this offseason, whether that be in season this next year or next offseason, depending on how they want to play things. And based on what we heard in the offseason from Zach Kleiman, from the front office, from the staff, they still want to compete. Like you said, this is in no way a team that is in rebuild mode, despite what some of the talking heads nationally are saying. You have all these picks stockpiled, and some of these picks are good picks. Like that 2026 pick is a Phoenix or Washington pick. Both of those teams project to be lottery teams next year.
And you get the preferred.
Right. So you have optionality now. There are guys who can fill the position, because I don't think the one thing that this trade does not accomplish for the Grizzlies is they still don't have that wing guy. They still didn't get that wing guy. KCP is not that guy. He's 32 years old. He's a little small. He's going to be a true 2. He can play some 3, but he will play the 2. You need a bigger guy at your 3 to really defend, a guy who can really shoot the ball. I know the Pelicans just listed Trey Murphy, who is a guy who I would be really, really, really interested in if I was the Grizzlies. And I think now you have the assets to go get a guy like that, a guy who averaged 21 points per game last year, shot over 40% from 3, and could be an all-defensive player, and is only 24 years old. So it sets you up for the future. I like that aspect of it. I do think that cap-wise, the Grizzlies have more flexibility to do what they want now. The ball is in their court. The ball is very much in their court.
Jalen Wells could be that guy, by the way, at 3. And that could be in Zach Kleiman's head. I don't know if he is or not, but they may think he is. So maybe they got that guy already. Maybe they're looking for a center. I really do not know. The picks at 16 that have been mentioned, there's a couple. They're all pretty much forwards. McNeely is really a 2-3 kind of a guy. Or Nick Clifford is the same kind of mold as McNeely, although I think he's certainly what was he, a junior last year? I think he was a junior, so got a couple more years of age on him. Do any of those guys really turn you on, or do you think that 16 pick is a chess piece here?
I think it would be better used as a chess piece. I do like the prospect of a guy like Nick Clifford, his defensive versatility. He would be the guy that I would go for at that pick as opposed to Liam McNeely. But I do think that if you can somehow get another deal done before the draft next week with that 16th pick, you might as well do it.
All right. The other story, obviously, was the USGA and the U.S. Open and the rain and the golf course and the setup and this guy that no one in our group would have picked, and I'm not sure anybody would have picked last Wednesday for a U.S. Open that started on Thursday, and that is J.J. Spawn. Wow. We will remember the 64.5-foot putt because we'll be watching that for years to come, much like we did with Sean's shot. Where was that? That was that in Marion when he won the PGA? I'm trying to remember. But it was a 150-yard shot that landed a foot away, and our own Sean won the PGA Championship. We saw that over and over and over again. We will see this putt from Spawn after he gets a read from Hovland 47.5 feet away to win the tournament. There are so many people that were upset with the USGA with setting this thing up too hard. Let me say on the front end, I'm 180 from that. I think 1 week each year you set this course up to be the toughest test in golf, and Oakmont may be the toughest track in the United States, and they have it every 10 years at this place or so, it seems. It's clearly in the rotation, and I thought they did a good job. It was unfortunate with the weather. And the one thing, and I'll get to this in Russ, I thought Sam Burns was the one guy that really got robbed. He got robbed when there was a delay because he was playing pretty well, he and Adam Scott. They were hurt by the delay. J.J. Spawn was helped by the delay, and I thought he got robbed on a ruling, and we'll get into that in medals. There is so much that we could talk about with this thing, but Spawn is a guy who he's now won over $9 million this year. He was second to Rory at the Players. He was third in another tournament. I think he's had like 4 top 5s this year, including that win. So he has been a guy who's been steady. His demeanor was so cool. You saw he had 5 bogeys on the front 9. And most of those, by all accounts, were just bad breaks. If that were Terrell Hatton, he would have blown his gasket. His mind would have exploded. This guy kept it cool. He did say that the delay helped him retool and just get past it all, and he did. And what I thought was really interesting was on the last hole, he knew he had the lead. He wasn't sure if it was by 1 or by 2. He did not want to know because he did not want to play it safe. And he didn't play it safe because he knocked in a 64.5 foot putt that we will watch for a long, long time to come because it got him a U.S. Open. So now we've had 3 different major winners. Rory at Augusta. It was Scheffler at the PGA. Now it's Spawn at the U.S. Open. Who will win the Open in Portrush? That is a question we will ask our friend Ted Butler and TJ Reeves as this program progresses. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure Studio. Pool time is still here where you can get your best price on those above-ground 24-foot pools because still, and this is for 6 weeks now, they are under $2,000 with the liner at under $300, and all pool accessories are 20% off. And if you want to surround your pool with unbelievable patio furniture, state-of-the-art, 50% off while pool time lasts. All you got to do is get to I-40 and Whidden Road. We do medals on Mondays. I got to give a bronze medal to the USA's men's national soccer team. They snapped a 4-game losing streak, which I believe was their longest period of frustration since 2007. Now, they shut out and win big over Trinidad and Tobago 5-0. But it was the World Cup, or the, Gold Cup Group D opener. I don't think they've ever lost a group first place position. Many thought this would be the year because so many of the stars are not playing. But they did get that one in the opener, so we'll give them a bronze medal. Second bronze medal, Angel Reese with the Chicago Sky. The 23-year-old had 11 points, 11 assists, 13 rebounds. That's her big forte. And so she becomes the second youngest at that 23 and 40 days to have a triple-double in the WNBA. You know who is the youngest to ever have a triple-double?
I imagine it is Caitlin Clark.
It would be Caitlin Clark, who did it twice at the age of 22. And by the way, did you see her? I didn't give her a medal. I probably should have. She came back. They beat the undefeated New York Liberty in a game on Saturday. I can't wait to see what those TV ratings were because they were 55% down without her. She comes back. They play the best team in the league. She hits like her first threes. Literally, the shortest one was 30 feet. It was unbelievable. She's hitting logo threes all over the place. They end up winning that game, and I can't wait to see exactly what the numbers are going to be on television ratings. But Reese gets my second bronze. My first silver goes to OKC. On the road, must win. They regain home court advantage. They have an unbelievable fourth quarter. They actually cover because the line was 5.5. Indy was in total control of this game until early in the fourth quarter. Give the Thunder all the credit in the world. I don't think this is Indy really blowing it. I think this is OKC maybe growing up. They were the better team coming in. Now it's tied 2-2. Game 5 is tonight. If OKC wins it, obviously, they'll have the advantage. Now, if this were to go Indy's way, and I don't think it will, but if it were, then you would see most people going Cindy and 6. We'll see what happens tonight. And I got to give the silver medal to the Florida Panthers. They dominated Game 5 on the road. So here you go. Edmonton comes back. 3 of the 4 games were all in overtime. Edmonton comes back, wins in Florida to go 4-4, to regain home ice advantage. And honestly, and we kind of alluded to this the whole time, Florida's the better team. We're all pulling for Edmonton because I think most people want to see a Canadian team win. Florida won it last year. It was a 7-game series last year. It's been delightful to have these close games. It's been fun to watch the Stanley Cup playoffs, but Florida's the better team, and now they got home ice advantage. I'll be shocked if they don't win at home. I think that's tomorrow night on TNT in Game 6. So the Panthers get my second silver medal. The only gold I got, J.J. Spawn. Here's a guy, did you know, Californian, he began or tried to become a professional skateboarder. He was in the early stages of becoming a skateboarder, chose the right path because now, in the limited years he's been on the tour, I know he's in his 30s, but he's already won $22 million. He's won $9.5 million this year, 4.3 yesterday. But he was the calm one. He kept his cool even though he had 5 bogeys on the front without a birdie. He saw the lead dissipate. The delay came. He kept his cool, and he wins his first major championship. He seems like a good guy, too. In all the interviews I see, J.J. Spawn gets my gold medal.
Yeah, I would say that definitely beats the potential of playing in the X Games, winning a U.S. Golf Open.
Yeah.
For my bronze medal, you mentioned it a minute ago, I have Caitlin Clark as my bronze medal in her return from injury. She missed about 3 weeks with a hamstring strain. She came back 32 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds, 7 long threes, like you said, and beat the undefeated New York Liberty, who were 9-0 entering the game. The Indiana Fever are back with Caitlin Clark on the floor, and they look like they are in business.
Yeah. Silver?
My silver medal, I gave it to Coastal Carolina for their first two games in the College World Series. They defeated Arizona on Friday and defeated Oregon State in the winner's bracket game yesterday. Dave, did you know they have not lost a game since mid-April?
Wow. How many in a row is that?
They have won 24 games in a row.
You are the king of finding these streaks. What, the NAIA school that was 49-0? And
LSU Shreveport.
These guys have won 22 straight games? Wow.
That's right.
That's probably the kiss
Shout
of
out
death
to
right
the
there.
Chanticleers.
I love it.
And my gold medal, I had to give it to Desmond Bain, of course, for 5 years with the Grizzlies, 18 points per game, part of the core three. One of my favorite players on the team, just the quiet countenance, the composure that he plays with, the fire at times. He was very big in the success that the Grizzlies have had over the past 5 years as the 30th overall pick in the draft, a guy who no one really gave buzz coming out of TCU. He has far exceeded the expectations that were placed on him. Shout out to Desmond Bain.
And when you do, you reap the rewards. That contract that he got for sure. All right, 2 Russ for me. I'm going to start baseball, and we didn't even talk about the big Bo Sox trade, but you know, Rafael Deaver, he put the Bo Sox in a position where they had to trade him. He was such a cancer, even though he's such a great hitter, refused to play first base when they asked him to because he was mad. They moved him from third to DH because they got a better third baseman defensively who could hit the ball too. We didn't even get – that's a big trade. I wonder what that does to the Giants because now they've got a big bat in the lineup where they've been hurting. But they had to give up some pitching prospects, 2 in particular. So we'll see what that does for the Boston Red Sox. But my Russ goes to Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge, we've talked about on this show in glowing terms, a chance to do something nobody else had ever done. There were 7 categories that you look at offensive stats, and he had led 6 for a while and was second in the 7th. I think it was home runs at the time. Unbelievable year. All of a sudden, 1 for 12 in the series with Boston. The Yankees got swept in that series. In 3 games, Judge struck out at least 3 times in each game. What? And he said, I got to swing at strikes. He let too many go by. Aaron Judge gets a rust for a 1 for 12 series with the Boston Red Sox. And my final rust goes to the USGA officials. There were 2 of them on the ruling on Sam Burns' ball that looked like it was slightly embedded in standing water. He kept showing the official with practice swings all the water that was coming out, and one guy said no. He asked for a second opinion. They brought another official over. He said no. He showed him again, and then he hit a 5-iron where the water got in the way. A terrible shot into the rough. He double bogeyed that hole. It was the beginning of his end on number 15. And if there was any case that I could have seen, and by the way, NBC thought the same thing. Most of social media agrees. Sam Burns, who lost his mind after that shot. I mean, he was cooked right after that. Sam Burns got the raw end of that deal, the rust of the USGA officials.
Yeah, my rust this week, I had Aaron Judge as well. It's funny, like you said, he went 1 for 12 in that series, but his only hit was a monster home run over the Green Monster off of AL Cy Young frontrunner Garrett Crochet right now. So his one hit, at least, was a loud one. But yeah, his batting average in the last 3 days has dropped from 392 to 378. So it looks like that 400 is no longer a realistic possibility, unfortunately, for the Judge.
You know, really, it just takes one little thing like that to knock that out. So what was the last guy, the highest was 393 by George Brett. I'm trying to remember the year. I remember the number. But I don't think that's going to be matched.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, especially now, because at least back then you would see a pitcher 3 times in a lineup. Now, you're lucky if you get more than 2. I mean, sometimes you don't even get 2. Because of specialization. Those are our medals. We take the break. When we come back, we head to Tampa. Our man from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, all kinds of different duties that he's got. Used to work for SiriusXM on the PGA Tour. We'll talk a myriad of topics with our friend TJ Reeves in just a minute.
first legal distillery in Texas, Tito's is 6 times distilled till it's just right and naturally gluten-free, making it a high-quality spirit that mixes with just about everything. From the smoothest martinis to the best Bloody Marys, beyond the bottle, Tito's has gained a reputation for giving back, teaming up with nonprofits around the world to serve its community and do good for dogs. Make your next cocktail with Tito's and learn more at Tito'sVodka.com. 40% alcohol by volume, mainly 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Terry's Tiny Homes. Terry! Sure, the only employee of the company Terry was but saving money getting personalized discounts with a commercial auto quote from Progressive. Well, that gave Terry the edge. Over Terry.
Terry!
Keep on really chanting your own name, Terry. You deserve it.
Woo!
Hero Terry. See if you can save as little as 7 minutes on Progressive commercial auto quote. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company for rates, discounts, and available in most future situations.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Five-Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com. Five-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director of Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Now back to Wallow and Friends on Sports 56. And once again, here's the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshyn.
I forgot to mention earlier, Pete Thamel from ESPN had an interesting story over the weekend pertaining to Memphis, saying that they may be, and I think these were his words, the most interesting chess piece for future realignment outside the power conferences. In other words, if they can't get into a power conference, he is reporting things that we've already talked about here, but seeing it on a national publication makes it seem a little bit more legit, where you would go football in the Pac-12 and all other sports Big East. I think that is the alternative that Memphis would like if they didn't get into the Big 12 or the Pac-12. He is saying there's not much interest from power conferences. I'm not ruling that out totally yet myself, but we shall see. In the meantime, we head to Tampa. Our man, TJ Reeves, sideline reporter extraordinaire of the Bucks. Many different hats he wears. Good morning, my friend. How are you on this weekend that we saw an unbelievable U.S. Open and the Grizzlies make a major move for flexibility? Well, I think the first of a couple of moves, probably. Good morning. Where are you?
Well,
where's your head at today?
Listen, first of all, happy Father's Day to you. I'm glad that we have proof of life for you after you and my bud George Offman, our mutual friend. He's your 50-year plus friend.
Yeah.
And maybe even one other individual. Were you trying to mimic Tom Cruise in the Mission Impossible movies and hang off the side of a mountain to save the world, or what exactly were you doing in the Idaho mountains?
That was not in the Idaho mountains. That picture that you may be referring to, that picture came from my wife and I in Costa Rica rappelling waterfalls.
Well, right. I remember we talked about that, but I thought there was hiking and mountains.
No. We hiked, we water rafted, and we played one round of golf. By the way, we played it at Hillcrest Country Club in Boise, which is the site for the Corn Ferry Tour, one of the playoff rounds.
And
nice golf
and it went
course.
well. Great
Yeah, oh,
course.
yeah,
Did well.
Yeah, I actually played okay. Yeah,
All right.
I was happy with
Beautiful.
that.
I'm glad there's proof of life on you, on George, and everybody else is safe with that. And all right, so we can go many different directions. First of all, I'm an alum. Please reassure me for the Tigers, as an alum, that we're not going to do this full-fledged thing to go into the Pac-12 with all of the Western teams that absolutely no one in Memphis will care about.
No, because, and I'll tell you exactly why, at least at this point. There's a couple of reasons. But what's the first thing we always look for in a story these days? It's trace the money. And if you look at this point, the Pac-12 television money at this point is not as much as the $11 million the American gave to the University of Memphis last year. So until that deal is better, there's no chance.
And by the way, it's not going to be. They don't have major markets. They don't have any appetite for Oregon State against Colorado State and Washington State against San Diego State. And remember, they had the block of 4 schools that they were talking to that included Memphis, UAB, Texas, San Antonio, UTSA, and USF, South Florida, here in Tampa. They were trying to woo them while they were wooing the group of the Mountain West schools, and that block of schools went no thanks, or was it Tulane maybe for New Orleans instead of UAB, whatever it was. And to me, I mean, the landscape has changed so much. Just sit tight because the ground's going to start shaking again, and who knows
I agree with
if there's an arms race.
But I will say this to you. I think in the minds of Memphis fans, therefore the administration, the donors, the entire grouping has had enough of the American Athletic Conference. I think the handwriting was on the wall, even in the minds of the conference, when they decided Birmingham and South Florida were going to be the site for the next 3 years for the tournament. Memphis only bid for the men, and that's a really good excuse to turn them down. But I suspect that Tim Pernetti has a fear that Memphis won't be around because Memphis has made it pretty clear they don't want to be in this league anymore. And I think the Pac-12 as a football conference and then the Big East and all other sports, if that could be engineered, would be, other than a Power 4 membership, it would be the best combination that Memphis at this point could come up with.
All right. But again, I would fear for who shows up at the what is the new name of the Liberty Bowl Stadium? Get the sponsor name, right? What is it now?
Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. You're such a nice guy.
And you've done a huge renovation project and all of that, and I don't want 11,000 people there because you're playing Colorado State and Oregon State and not anybody that anybody in the Mid-South cares about. So
let me ask you something. Do you think they really care about playing Rice?
They don't. No. They obviously don't. But if we're talking about sit tight and figure out how do we get into the Big 12 if it expands some more, or if the ground starts shaking and the ACC and the SEC are in an arms race for schools, that's a whole lot better than committing to go see if we could play Nevada-Reno.
Well, and the other aspect of this is there are reports out of Las Vegas that UNLV didn't go to the Pac-12 because they're certain they're going to be in a move that's going to open up for them in the Big 12.
Possibly.
I don't know if that's 100% certain or not, but if that's the case, wouldn't there be a second team that would come in?
Well, certainly Dan Mullen and Josh Pastner both going there raises their profile with those two coaches to help their athletic, programs, their two bell cow programs. So we'll see. We could talk conference alignment all summer. I know you want to talk U.S. Open.
Yes.
What a moment. Where do we begin with the course was the ultimate deciding factor because it ate big time player after big time player alive down the stretch of the tournament Saturday and Sunday, and then to have J.J. Spawn, a virtual unknown to most. If you're a hardcore golf fan, you know that he had won before. You know that he had come close against Rory McIlroy in the Players' Championship this year, but most people don't know who he is. And for him to recover and to have that moment on the 72nd hole rolling in that putt, is it confirmed that that's the longest putt to ever win the U.S. Open, to ever clinch it? I believe it is.
Well, I know it was the longest putt in this particular tournament, 64.5 feet. I really don't know if that's
the only
longest
comparable is
in
Greg
U.S.
Norman
Open history?
What
longest putt?
I heard last night, I believe it is the longest clinching putt in the history of the U.S. Open. The only reference point I have is Greg Norman, and I know we're old farts. Greg Norman forcing the playoff with Fuzzy Zeller on the 72nd hole, if you remember, and that was like a 50 or 60-foot putt across the green, and Fuzzy very famously was in the fairway behind him in the final group and started waving the white towel. Remember the white flag?
Right.
Because he thought Norman had taken the lead with the putt, but it was simply to tie him, and then Fuzzy won the 18-hole U.S. Open playoff the next day, which they used to play. But what a story for J.J. Spawn. It's career-changing, life-altering. He's got the little kids there on Father's Day.
Yeah.
Did you see the story? I don't know if you mentioned it already, that the littlest one that was in the yellow dress was throwing up all night. So at 3 a.m., he was in the CVS near Oakmont Golf Club trying to get vomiting medication for the little one.
Wow.
Welcome to Father's Day.
Yeah.
Welcome to fatherhood, and then you go win the United States Open. What a story. What a story. I know not everybody's a golf fan. We're big golf guys, but the U.S. Open we gravitate to, kind of the everyman tournament.
No doubt. Let me ask you, because I've heard people taking shots at the USGA for the setup being too hard. I don't agree with that sentiment. What is your thought on the way the USGA set it up? The rain was a problem, but that you can't take that into account when you're setting it up unless it's that morning.
The only things that we know this, they're always going to grow the rough. They always want it to be a challenge. They always want the winning score to be right around par. And then here in this case, it was 2 under because he made the birdie.
1 under.
1 under? Okay,
Yeah.
1 under because he made the birdie on the final hole. And he won by 2. So they want it to be challenging. The only problem that I think most have in watching this is it's ridiculous and stupid that if you hit the ball in the middle of the fairway, that the ball out of the middle of the fairway would roll slope all the way down into trouble, like an errant shot, and roll into the second cut of green. At that point, you're being ridiculous. You're being stupid with how you've set the course up. But to have the rough grown the way that it is, and the same thing would be true if you have a hole location that is so diabolical. There's a word, Wolo, on a Monday from my Memphis education. If it is so diabolical that you hit the ball hole high right by the hole, and the ball rolls 50 or 60 feet beyond the hole when you've hit a shot right by the hole, or the ball will spin a little bit and then roll 60, 70, 80 or more feet back down, that's a little much. That's a little much. I know they had obviously intended to have that thing play much faster on Saturday and Sunday, but the pouring rain on Friday night in particular made that virtually impossible. They don't have an aerification system. They weren't just going to dry them out and bake those greens. But I'm all for it. We see so many of these tournaments and even championships where the winning score is 15 under par or 13 under par. It's good to watch them battle. And this is nothing new. The USGA has done this for basically about 50 years of make it that tough, so I don't have a problem with it. There you go.
I should point out, by the way, that J.J. Spawn's short game coach, you saw him with his son, they were hugging. That is Josh Gregory, who's a former Christian Brothers High School standout.
There we go.
Who was the golf coach at Augusta State when they won the national championship. He's now at SMU.
You think he's going to get a phone call or two about short game help after that?
Maybe so.
Holy cow. So, great theater, great moment. Loved it. And, we're kind of going into a slower time. Although everybody thought they were going to have a quiet Father's Day morning, go to church, etc. And then what are your Memphis Grizzlies in that market doing, pulling the trigger on a trade at like 9 a.m. on Father's Day morning before the draft coming up here?
I didn't find out till like 5 o'clock. I was in total shock. I do think this is the definition of a win-win. Orlando needed shooting. They were the worst team from three-point range last year. It was like one of the worst years since 2007, I believe. Terrible. And so they win in this regard. They had the space to take on what will be $45 million in 28-29 for Desmond Bain, who's a one-trick pony. He's a very good shooter, but he's a one-position guy. He's not a great
worth
ball
3 number 1 picks plus the players that Orlando gave up? I mean, obviously they think he is.
All right. Well,
what's your take?
They had a problem. That's why I think it's win-win. They had the space. They had the ability to do it. They needed shooting, and maybe they gave one pick too many to the Grizzlies, but the Grizzlies got a lot. And
yeah, they did.
It was and
You know
flexibility.
what I hearken back to? I had left Memphis State University my senior year, and ironically, you were here where in his final year. The following year, Penny Hardaway played his final game in the Orlando Arena for Memphis State, a loss that still haunts me to this day to Western Kentucky in the opening round of the NCAA tournament. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And then later
I remember Rodney Newsom taking the shot instead of Penny. That's what I remember.
All right. So then later that summer is the blockbuster trade where the Orlando Magic drafted Chris Webber, who was the much more known, heralded Michigan star, who had played in the national championship game and famously called timeout when they didn't have one against North Carolina. But the Magic took Webber, and at that point I was working. I had been hired. I was working 5-day-a-week sports radio in Tampa Bay, and all the talk was Chris Webber this, Chris Webber that, and the rumors were out there that they wanted Penny Hardaway to pair him with Shaq. To have the guard and the low postman. And I still remember the bedlam when that trade was made and announced where Orlando had dealt Chris Webber, but they not only got Penny, but they got, 3 number 1 picks or 4 number 1 picks? It was either 3 or 4 from Golden State. And I had some guy named Dave Woloshin come on the radio with me to talk everybody off the ledge in Tampa Bay that this trade was not going to be the end of the Orlando Magic, that they were giving away Chris Webber to get Penny Hardaway, and lo and behold, Penny and Shaq, for like a 3-year period, they rocked and rolled. Penny was an all-NBA player, was electric, and I had lots and lots of people saying, I still remember the days after the draft, you had the Memphis play-by-play guy on, my guy Wolo, trying to talk everybody down, calm down. Penny Hardaway can play at this level, and you got a bunch of number 1 picks, and maybe that's what Memphis Grizzlies fans are going to be saying after this deal.
Again, this to me was a chess move. I do believe that in the end, there's another move here that will take place soon.
They're gonna spin off a couple of those picks for a player potentially.
Yeah, I think so. A veteran of some kind. I don't know if it's a wing player or a big. We'll see. Last thing, do you think Sam Burns got the raw end of the deal on the having to play
on the ruling?
What appeared to be a very wet ball?
All right, so the issue that you're talking about, and there's so many nuances to golf, is did he have standing water, pooled water in his stance where he could take relief? He didn't like the spot where the ball was, but guess what? That's the conditions, and unless, the rule is the rule, and the USGA representative that was on the broadcast with NBC explained it, and then he had 2 referees separately come in and tell him the same thing. There's not water pooled up around your feet. You got to play it. It's just like upcoming at the British Open, at the Open Championship. So that didn't doom him. He hit plenty of other bad shots before that and after that, and he, to his credit, said afterwards, even though he was frustrated at the time, that, hey, it is what it is. They came and gave me the ruling. 2 separate referees came in and said the same thing, and you heard the second one say to him, there's not water pooled up next to you in your stance. That's where you would get the relief. If the ball's in a pool of water or on the fairway, or you're standing in a pool of water, that's where you get the relief. That didn't cost him the tournament. And Adam Scott kind of the same way. The bad conditions and having to battle that is all part of the game, and Spawn was the better player. We'll never know, but how much did he benefit? I know you got to go. How much did he benefit from the 90-minute delay when he had come unraveled on the front end? That was a ton.
He said it helped him a lot.
Oh, absolutely it did. He might have shot 77 or 78 without that delay.
He got so many bad breaks to begin with, so it evens out, isn't it, what they always say? I'm still waiting for my even out, but...
What an all-time moment, though, on the 72nd hole. It's beautiful.
All
right, my friend.
We'll watch that putt like we watched Sean McKeel's shot from...
Oh, God, yeah. They'll show it like the Payne Stewart made putt at Pinehurst.
Right,
all the Tiger putt at Torrey Pines. It goes into the lore of the U.S. Open. You cannot take it from him. It's life-changing.
Nope. Thank you much, TJ. We appreciate it.
All right, my friend. Be well.
Our man, TJ Reeves. From Tampa, brought to you by Miramichi. It's a place that he loves, a place that I usually love, although it ate my lunch yesterday. I got to tell you, it started off so good. Had 2 birdie putts on 1 and 2 right off the bat, and then The wheels came off, but that's golf. I'm waiting for my brakes to turn around, but I can tell you this, even though it was that way, I enjoyed that round so much because I was playing with the sun, I was playing with some friends, and Miramichi is just so pretty. The back nine, it's like walking through the woods with a rolling stream and a waterfall and hills, and it's gorgeous. And you will love the whole experience because if you want to practice, the best practice facilities, the range is terrific, the folks are so friendly, the food is great in the clubhouse. It's the true golf experience. It's open on Mondays now. The best day to play is Thursday for price. And I'll just say this. It's not in Millington. It's in Woodstock. It's 25 minutes from my driveway in East Memphis. It really is. It's the place to go for a true golf experience. It's Miramichi in Woodstock. We take a break. We'll head to summer golf and games and our guru on golf, Ted Butler, on the U.S. Open. He comes your way in a minute.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery instead of dependable service and no long-term contracts. An easy choice. Call Jeff Menas today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
As down payments get bigger, millions of renters across America feel like they'll never be able to buy a home. So instead of lowering expectations, Rocket Mortgage is lowering down payments to 1% for eligible home buyers with One Plus, helping more renters become owners. Call 800-4ROCKET or visit rocket.com to get a head start on your starter home.
Rocket Mortgage, LLC, licensed in all 50 states, and MLSConsumerAccess.org, number 3030.
It's time for fun, family, and fabulous prizes at the 67th Annual St. Louis Hole-in-One Charity Festival, Sunday through Saturday, June 15th through 21st. Golfers can win cash and prizes every night, along with the chance to win $25,000 toward a City Auto vehicle purchase select nights. Then a chance to win $1 million the final night. Plus, there are cornhole tournaments every night with cash and prizes. Friday and Saturday nights, there are kids' carnival rides and 2 to 4 Saturday children's golf. So golfers, grab your clubs. Cornholers, practice your aim. Families, bring the kids. Memphis, there's something for everyone. You're invited to the biggest party of the year at St. Louis Church, 203 South White Station Road. The 67th Annual St. Louis Hole-in-One Charity Festival, Sunday through Saturday, June 15th through the 21st. Fun, family, and fabulous prizes all week as you help raise funds supporting youth programs at St. Louis Church.
Wally Hatchet serves breakfast all day and Southern comfort food for lunch. Hatchet fans love our huge omelets, breakfast Sammys, scrambles, and chicken and waffles. For lunch, check out the Mississippi pot roast, chicken fried steak, grilled meatloaf, or one of our best-selling burgers, lipstick on a cow. Pickup, delivery, and catering are also available. Visit WallyHatchets.com to order online. Wally Hatchets is located at 6439 Summer Avenue and open from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Tuesday through Sunday. Wally Hatchets. Count your blessings, not your calories.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
All we hear is Radio Gaga, Radio Gaga.
It was dramatic. So many people at one time, I think 5 were tied at 1 over as they were going down the stretch of the U.S. Open that J.J. Spahn was able to win with a 64.5-foot putt to clinch it on number 18. We head to Summer Golf and Games and our golf guru, who's taught Memphis golfers for 53 years. Wow, what an accomplishment. Ted Butler joins us now. So much better at teaching than you are at picking golf, that's for sure. What did
who picked J.J. Spahn?
No, nobody did. There is. I don't even know. I wonder what his odds were going into this U.S. Open because
astronomical.
Yes, I don't know if anybody picked him. My God, they made money. That's for sure.
Really?
What did you think? Let's start with the USGA setup. I thought it was fair. I liked it. It's unfortunate the rain did kind of screw things up, but did you think USGA was fair with this?
Yes, I did. It's supposed to be the hardest golf course they play. U.S. Open is supposed to be the toughest tournament you play in, and the fair you have to hit the ball in the fairway. It's just, I don't want to say it's that simple, but there's a premium on driving the ball in play because that rough was just brutal. And when it rained like it did, I mean, it was hard to watch sometimes. You don't see pros throwing clubs very often, but it was a tough day.
Everybody lost their mind, not just Terrell Hatton.
Right.
Rory did. Scotty did. They all had moments of frustration. Sam Burns absolutely lost it on the 15th hole when he did not get a ruling. I kind of thought he should have gotten. I just talked to T.J. Reeves. He did not think he should have gotten it. 2 USGA officials were right there. I think the NBC crew thought he should have gotten some relief. What's your sense of it?
Well, it's hard to tell because you have to see the water come up where he's standing, for it to be casual water like that. And on TV, we couldn't tell. But you could see taking his practice swings, it was clearly a splash. So, the officials, USGA officials are good. And for 2 of them to say no, I guess they thought it was right. He didn't like it for sure.
Well, after he hit that shot, which went into the rough and caused him to have a double, there is no doubt that was his undoing. He never recovered from that. No,
that was at least a 2-shot swing, and he was doing like he's going to win the tournament. And then all of a sudden, the wheels came out from under him.
Yeah,
and I don't think it was his fault, but without being there, it's just hard to say.
And then Spawn had 5 bogeys on the front 9. For him not to explode, now he said the delay helped him, but for him to keep his cool, he was the one golfer out there that was the calm guy.
Yeah. Well, that's sports psychologists. They've got people working with him like that, and the same thing happened at the Players Tournament when he was playing with Rory. And they got that little bit of break, and, being 5 over after 6 holes, you think I thought he was out of it completely. I wasn't surprised that he played like that, but the comeback was incredible. I mean, the shots he hit down the stretch, those last 3 holes, the drive on 17, the putt on 18 were just unbelievable, actually.
Oh, the drive on 17 was amazing. I thought he actually had a legit shot at the eagle there.
Oh, yeah.
Because that is a risk-reward place. Hey, I got to ask you this. You didn't play at Oakmont. You played at Marion, which is also in Pennsylvania but closer to Philly, and you played in Hazeltine, which I believe is in Minnesota, correct?
Right.
So you've
in Hazeltine. In Hazeltine, the first round was like that, where Gary Player shot 80, Nicklaus shot 81, and Palmer shot 82.
What did you shoot?
84.
Wow.
The 3 best players on the planet couldn't break 80. Think about that. How hard that was.
That's crazy.
And Marion, even par won. Trevino and Nicklaus won in the playoff at even par. So these U.S. Open courses are tough.
Is Oakmont the toughest golf course in America?
I think it probably is. When they set it up like they can with those pins and the slopes, and you hit a shot 10 feet from the hole and it backs up a foot and rolls down the fairway 50 yards. I can't remember a course being that hard.
Well, this
and it's long too.
This was the 10th time there. In the first 9, only 23 golfers have finished under par. Now in 10 there are 24 because he was under par with that incredible birdie, or he would have been even par. 3 champions before this had won over par. My question is, did Oakmont ever have that risk reward par 4, that short par 4 at 327 before?
I think that used to be a par 3, like a 280-yard par 3, if I'm not mistaken. Years ago, I remember that as being the hardest par 3 ever. So now it turns into a short par 4.
Yeah. Now we've had 3 different major champions: McIlroy, Scheffler, and the surprise of J.J. Spawn. Who do you think would you parlay as the favorite for the British Open in Portrush?
Well, I don't know. That's a tough one because you don't know how the weather's going to be. If it gets really windy and it's hard to ever bet against Scheffler because even this thing, he almost came back in this tournament. I mean, he was out of it
with a bad swing. He had a flaw in his swing. He was mad. He couldn't figure it out.
Right. So it's just hard to, he's the best player in the world. So you'd have to kind of figure on him. I guess Rory, I don't know what's going on with him. His whole life has turned into a fiasco.
What did you make of his, I guess it was Saturday press conference where he basically said, you media guys frustrate me. I've been good to you all these years. I'm done with y'all. It was sort of crazy. Even Paul McGinley, his biggest endorser, the guy who's protected him through all, even missing Jack's tournament, everything else, even he said, something is wrong with the guy. It's not him. What do you think is going on there?
Well, I think the last few years of being on the board and trying to work with all the live golf and trying to do all that stuff and playing golf and the pressure of the Masters and all the ridiculous questions he's had to put up with for the last 3 years. Not just golf tournaments, but the live and the regular tour. He's got to be tired of answering stupid questions. And he reacted poorly. For him to throw a golf club, and watch junior golfers see that. Well, Rory did it. You don't throw golf clubs, not in a major ever on the PGA Tour.
Well,
there's something wrong somewhere.
People went crazy in this thing. Wyndham Clark apparently tore up a locker room.
I didn't hear about that one.
Crazy.
But I'm not surprised.
Bryson DeChambeau, we thought was a real favorite for this because he could drive so far and have shorter clubs into those tough greens, and he didn't even make the cut. He's the defending U.S. Open champ. Yeah.
The long drives don't help you if you're in 60-inch rough. The guy Spawn's a great driver. I mean, he hits that little cut, only 300 yards. Hit a lot of fairways.
Yeah. Phil Mickelson, last U.S. Open probably. What are your thoughts about his last act, maybe?
Well, I'm glad. He's getting what he deserved. He shouldn't have jumped ship. He did a lot of things wrong, and now he looks bad. I don't much. I think he deserves what he's getting.
Interesting, though. He was right. As soon as he started the parade to live, the PGA found the money to pay the players what they should have been getting. I mean, he did. If you're looking at points made, he actually was right.
Well, that's true. And Liv comes up with the money, and the guys do it. And half the time you can't blame them. People offer you $200 million to come over and play. How can you say no? Unless you're playing for history, like Tiger and those guys do.
Look at Koepka. He didn't even wear Liv stuff. I think he's trying to get back in. Rahm, I believe, has basically said he probably made a competitive mistake, although he finished, top 10 in this thing? Rahm did?
Yeah, he's finished pretty good in the last two majors. They're both great players.
It's interesting. Justin Thomas, who has had a comeback this year, nobody gave him a shot because he doesn't hit the ball far enough. I think at this point in your career, you can't get longer, can you?
I don't think so. I don't know. Justin Thomas is not short.
Not long enough, though, to be favored. And Spieth actually played decently. Maybe he gets a turnaround here.
We'll see.
You don't believe in him.
No,
all right.
I don't think so.
Enjoy the rest of your Monday, my friend. I know you'll be teaching somebody, and we look forward to talking the tour and a bunch more next Monday.
Okay, Dave. Thanks.
That's our man, Ted Butler, on golf. He's brought to you by Southern Security. Are you getting the lowest possible rate on your mortgage? At Southern Security, oh, what a great place that is. They offer the lowest rates, flexible terms, no PMI, and unbeatable service. You can refinance your current mortgage with the Mid-South's best mortgage lender in a very easy way. Either go online at southernsecurity.org or you can talk to a human being. Call the office at 452-7900, 901-452-7900. Southern Security is an equal housing lender. You know they're proud supporters of the Tigers and 901 Women. They have been voted the best credit union in the Memphis area for the last 6 years, working on number 7. They are federally insured by NCUA. They are Southern Security, your home team credit Union. We'll talk a little baseball, more on the NBA trade, and we got the Wednesday draft coming up. A whole bunch on that tomorrow. Usual crew will be in. We'll see you then. Johnny Radio back from vacation. He comes your way next. Have a great day, everybody.